Hey there, Floss Tube. This is Cathy, the hands-on designer. I'm coming at you on a Thursday afternoon here in the studio. No kitchen today, sorry, no cooking. But I'm here with my good friend,
Lorna.
And Lorna, we were talking earlier, okay, we practiced a little bit. I hope it shows. How long have we known each other?
We figured that out. It's 23 years.
23 years, yes. Because when I started in this business, I had a shop.
Yep.
I was open 2 weeks and I got a phone call.
Yes, you did.
Are you a shop? Are you really a shop? Do you have, because we had no shop in the area. And
I showed up at her doorstep.
Yep, you did. Because the shop started in my house. And we were just weekends then. And you came like the third weekend we were open.
I think so. And I brought Judy with me.
Yep. And she's not left.
I've hung around.
So I'm going to shoot kind of a little different video today. I want to do a little bit of a tutorial about the Banner Year series. And if you're not familiar with what I mean by the Banner Year, we'll show this one first. This is the one that just came out. This is Snow Much Fun. Whoop. Okay, the hazards of one being tall and one
being short,
not being tall. But this is Snow Much Fun that just came out
November?
Yeah, November. Yes, thank you. Whew. I should say, Lorna works with me at Hands-On Design. So she helps packing the charts and packing orders. Because it's been almost a year since...
Yeah, I started informally in February.
That you retired.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you retired and then came to work.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something's wrong with that.
I'm semi-retired.
Yeah. We work her hard here. Okay, and this is actually the one, we're backwards. Sorry. This is the one that started it all. I taught this at the Midwest Cross Stitchers Retreat. This is the Language of Liberty, Liberté, Libertad. Now this is not out in the catalog yet. This will come out in 21. And then the one that came out this fall. I laid these out wrong, sorry. This is Ghosties and Gourds, otherwise known as Boo Banner. Everybody calls it Boo Banner. That was actually its working title. I didn't want to call it Boo Banner. I don't know why. I think I just should have. So, all right. But what I'd like to do, there is a tutorial. There's a link inside each chart that takes you to a private tutorial, a private page on my website that shows you step by step, all 76 steps of them, how to assemble this. And don't be scared off by that number, 76. I take a lot of pictures and really kind of try and explain step by step as you go. So it's like I am standing right next to you, except now I'm going to be standing next to you.
Yep.
And what I want to do is I want to talk today mostly about what I call the foundation of the banner. And darn it, I didn't go get the inspiration piece.
Oh, no, well, you did not.
I'll show it next time. It's actually hanging upstairs as part of my Christmas decorations, so I'd have to get up on a ladder and get it down. But what I want to do is kind of talk you through what I call the foundation part of the Banner Year. And Lorna is actually going to, you've taken some of my classes.
Yes, I have. We've been
all over the country.
All over the country together. And we're still friends.
Yep. Yeah, we even drove 2 days back from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, back to Iowa. It was, I don't know.
It was fun. I got to see country I'd never seen before.
I was driving. She was white knuckling it, apparently.
Nope, I was just watching everything go by and enjoyed the Smoky Mountains.
Yes, that was a fun
beautiful
part.
Yes.
I did not like driving through that part, though.
Yeah.
And I did it twice that trip.
Got me some real cotton.
Yes.
Right out of a field.
Yep. So I think Lorna's gonna be my class participant today, and I'm gonna work along too. So we're just gonna guide you through, talk you through, to kind of complement the directions that come on the chart. the putting together of this piece. And then we have a little bit of Q&A I put earlier out on the Facebook group, if anybody had any questions, and we'll answer some of those as we go. And when Lorna and I were practicing, you asked some great questions too, so ask away if it comes up. But so I'm going to actually stop the camera and we're going to point it down so you can kind of see what we're doing. Sorry, I don't have a fancy schmancy studio. This is very low tech operation here. But the idea really is to maybe if you're thinking about this and you're going, oh, I don't know about that finishing, just want to show you, give you some just a little hand holding as you go through the process. Now, when you do get your chart, before we stop camera and move, you will get a web address to, as I said, it's a private page on my website with the tutorial, and on there it lists some of the supplies that you'll need, but it also has two links to 2 different pages where you need to download. And for some reason, if you have a problem loading the page, double check, number 1, that you are spelling everything correctly. I know there's a lot of dashes and dots and forward slashes. You tried it. You were able to bring it up.
I was able to bring it up on my tablet.
Okay. So tablet, phone, even your computer. You may have to clear your cookies. My IT department told me that. And then also you might need to change your platform. So if it's not working on your laptop, maybe bring it up on your tablet, something like that. So I promise you it is there. But anyway, one of the links takes you to your template pages, so you'll want to print those out. And this shows you the 3 different sizes that you'll need. And then also it gets you a link to, I printed mine in black and white. Color is nice as well, although I made sure that the photos were very high contrast, so easy to see. But this is step by step, and I'll try to refer you through where we are on the steps when possible as we go through this. And like I said, we're going to work on the foundation pieces, the base of the banners that you'll actually put your stitching on. And we'll talk about the stitching part too a little bit. So, got any questions before we start?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stop here and we'll move the camera around.
All right.
Okay, so we are back, and as I said before, you're going to want to go ahead and print out your two sheets with the templates, and you could just cut those with a paper scissors. I'm going to set mine aside because I actually have, these are my my templates from when I first actually started designing this piece, and I've marked each one. This is my linen size, and you can see they are 3 different sizes. Okay, and these are made if you are stitching on, all my models are stitched on a 32 count over 2. You can also do a 16 count. You can do a 28 count over 2 or a 14 count. The design itself ends up being approximately 3/4 of an inch bigger on a 14 count as opposed to a 16 count. So you might want to adjust these a little bit. It's about yeah, I think about 3/4 of an inch bigger is what I determined. Now, that's not saying these need to be 3/4 of an inch bigger. My suggestion is that you take your stitching and you take the piece that's your linen size, take your, take your template piece and hold it up to some light and hold your stitching over it. In many cases with this, my design is actually meant to really go right to the edge and sometimes even wrap around. So there is a good chance you might not even need to change this a whole lot, but maybe if you just make it like a 1/4 inch bigger on either side, just play around with it until you get the right size. Whatever size you enlarge the linen base to, you're gonna have to add that to the other 2 pieces as well in order to make this all go together, okay? All right, so normally what I would do is I would take the template pieces that I cut out and I would lay it on here, and I would take my ruler and I would say if this was the pattern or the fabric piece, or the paper piece, then I would put my ruler on top and I'd get my pencil and I would draw my line. I actually went ahead and used my mat board templates to go ahead and draw a set for each of us. So a set for you, so I'll work along with you. Right. But I did kind of want to demonstrate how I cut these out. I've demonstrated cutting before in other videos, and I just lay my ruler up next on the line, And then you know I'm working on a cutting surface that I can cut on. And I've got a fresh blade. And I'm putting pressure down on my ruler and I'm pulling towards myself. Now, I did not try and go through the whole mat board in the first cut. I actually just kind of cut a groove. And you can see on that third one, I got all the way through. Line up again. All right. There's a piece for you.
Alrighty, thank you.
I'll do mine quickly here. And it's my hope that maybe you learn something from this video or just kind of start getting your feet wet with the, we need a garbage pile. I always laugh. My classes generate a lot of garbage. Go ahead and cut that too. All right, there's one for me. More garbage, ma'am, thank you. And then I cut the, I'll cut the backing. This is the piece that's on the back, and I'll show in a minute what so 2 pieces will be cut of mat board, the part that's covered in linen, and one of the parts that'll be covered in the pretty fabric, and then cardboard is for the very back. There you go. Any questions so far, Lorna?
I don't think so. You're just using a box cutter.
Yep. All right, final cut here. Okay. All right, there's our garbage pile. So just to let you know, we each have 2 pieces. I'll use this one as so as I said, we are concentrating on the base of this, not so much the linen portion, but this part that's covered with fabric, and then the back that's covered with fabric. And somebody had asked, what does the back look like? So the back is covered with fabric, and then we're going to talk about how to create that little channel that's wedged between the 2 layers before you attach your stitched piece. Okay, so that's what these 2 pieces are. Here's our cardboard, and then this mat board is covered in fabric here. I am not using any batting here. This does, the stitch piece does have batting under it, but these do not. Okay.
And how much batting did you use on your front piece?
I used 2 layers.
Okay.
Okay, because I like to use the thin, warm and natural batting.
Okay.
All right.
And
so
did you just stick that down with double-sided tape?
I did, yes.
Okay.
All right. So I've cut you a couple pieces of fabric, and I've got a couple pieces of fabric. This is just quilting cotton. My suggestion, so now you've got like a nice small little print. I've got a larger print. Because we are going to be working with cotton fabric on the bias, my suggestion would be probably to not use a fabric that's got like an obvious stripe or maybe pattern or a plaid or something like that. Just because it's going to distort it a little bit as we wrap on the bias. Okay. And we don't want wonky lines.
No, we do not want wonky lines.
But on the other hand, don't be afraid of a bigger print as well. Okay, whoop, we had a little interruption there. I'll have to call Mom back. I'll explain, she'll understand. So as I was saying is don't be afraid of a big print. I mean, obviously we don't want a huge print, but don't be afraid of those larger prints too, because they look completely different when you're gonna see just a little bit of it peeking out the edge. I would, this was a grunge dot. I would call that a fairly large print, but it was just enough to kind of add a little something to it. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, I love the colors in that one.
Yeah, that's my favorite part too. Okay, and then this piece we'll be using later. So let's go ahead. We're gonna start with, we can put our cardboard one aside, and this is the backing piece. So put your fabric right side down. And we're getting ready to cover the backing piece. This is the large piece that goes behind the stitching. And then we're going to go ahead and trim. Now, you've actually got a little bit of selvage on yours. Mm-hmm. I would not use the selvage. Right. Okay, so if you did want to kind of use that as a side, use this side and not the selvage side. Okay. The selvage side is just thicker and it's just going to give bulk.
Bulkier.
Okay. Okay. So here's a rotary cutter for you. I'll do mine really quick and then I'm going to let you do yours. So I'm going to cut, you can see I laid my ruler on top of my piece of mat board, and I'm going to trim, I put it on the 5/8 mark, excuse me, and I'm going to trim 5/8 on all three sides. I'm gently turning it because I like to work in the same direction. I do have one of those handy dandy little rotating mat boards, but I don't know where it is right now. So, all right, I did mine. You do yours. Oh, you got a cutter there.
Yep. So 3/4 of an inch.
And the garbage pile goes over there. 5/8.
5/8.
And for those of you, if you are following along in the directions as we go, we're actually getting ready to head up to page number 2 on steps 9 and 10.
It's right there.
Mm-hmm. You can also, if you want to mark this with a pencil, some people aren't comfortable with rotary cutters. So if you want to mark it with, say, a pen or a pencil and then cut that with your fabric scissors, you are also able to do that. And I am giving you 5/8 inch because when we fold this over, kind of what this is doing by following the directions, you won't be able to see any raw edges or anything like that. So,
yeah.
Yep, there you go.
Oops.
Nope, you had it right. Apparently I need a new blade.
Or I need to just push harder.
Okay. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut 3 very thin strips of double-sided acid-free tape. Oh, you got your last side? Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll keep talking while you do that. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Alrighty. So I'm using a wide, I think this is what, an inch, let's double check. Yep, 1.5 wide double-sided acid-free tape. It's called stitchery tape. This is pretty much for me an essential in all my finishing. You can get this through your shops online and local shop. I actually do keep a couple rolls on hand to sell in my website, just in case you can't find it. Maybe your shop is out, something like that. It comes in a big size. So if you're going to do a lot of finishing, I would suggest getting that. This is probably the size I work with the most. And we also have one in there that's a little narrower. It's a little more economical. So if you're not going to do a ton of finishing, I've not worked with it. Have you worked with it yet?
I've not worked with it, but I could see where it might be easier to handle.
Okay.
Because it's not so wide. And if you're trying to do a narrow spot, you don't have to cut it down.
Gotcha. Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so you've got one to work with there, and then we're going to use our I call these sticky scissors. So I'm going to cut 3 very narrow pieces. And then I'm going to, so you can see how narrow that is, like maybe a 1/4 inch. And I'm going to stick those in the corners. You can see how it starts here and then it goes right out into the triangle that way. And I'm going to put that in all 3 corners. Yeah, and sometimes when you got to cut multiples, you got to use your hands, you got to use your, I don't know. You get used to working with the sticky tape, double-sided tape. People either love it or they hate it. I don't know. There is no in between. And then I'm going to take all of make sure it's adhered nice and well to the surface. And then if you have good nails, you can get a corner, or as you can see what I'm doing is I'm using my X-Acto blade and I'm just lifting up on a corner. Okay, you have good nails.
Thank you.
All right, and then we're just going to fold each corner. I haven't trimmed anything yet. We're going to fold each corner down into the double-sided tape, the exposed double-sided tape. And you want to pull a little bit, not too much. Now you can see that's why we wanted to go down into the corner, so that would catch that. So when you look at the front, you just want to make sure that the front is, the fabric is smooth. We're not pulling it. We don't, you know, just yet. We'll be doing that here in a little bit. But yeah, we don't want it so loose that we've got like ripples and bumps in the front. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So now we're going to go ahead. We want to turn the edge. Oh, no. Sorry. We got to trim first. Okay.
Yes.
You want that one? I'll
Sure.
use this one. So, gosh, Cathy, follow your own directions. So the first thing we're going to do, just remember, don't do that one. Okay.
Okay.
Do your bottom first. And what I want you to do is put the blade just inside the fold and just give it a little snip. Go so it's about 1/8 of an inch, not too close to the pointy, to the real tip, because we don't want, you know, there's got to be some fabric left to hold. But we want to get close. We can always cut off if we need to, and then just trim that little triangle off, and then do the other side. And then, so you can kind of see, like that's kind of how much fabric I have left. How you doing there? Oh yeah. And you can even probably just get a little closer with that one.
Closer with this one. These are great little scissors.
Yeah. I cannot remember what they're called. I got them at, I think they're used for cutting wool, like, because they're super sharp. I can't, oh my gosh, like I'm going to read that. Not a clue what that says. Can you read that?
No.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know, 1/16 point. But I think they're meant to be for cutting wool, which they would be great for that. But also great for getting in little corners. Now, so when we do because this is our bottom tip, when we do up here, I'm going to have you trim this side, but not on the tops. So we do this outside edge and this outside edge, but I'm not going to have you trim here and here, because what's going to happen is we're going to have a raw edge here. So this is going to get folded in first, and when the top edge goes down, I want that raw edge to be covered up. That's what you were starting to cut that. That's why I stopped. Yeah. All right, so go ahead and cut your corners there if you would like.
So I want to cut right here.
Mm-hmm. Just like you did on the bottom. Slip your tip of your scissors into the fold, and then kind of go along the edge of the mat board. So that's what you should look like. All right.
And then here.
Uh-huh. You got it. Okay, so now we can get ready to turn our fabric over, and we're going to do that again with the double-sided acid-free tape. And you got it?
Yep.
All right. So what I do is I hold my tape up over top, and I kind of just gauge. This is the real scientific way of doing it. That's a joke. And you can see I kind of used my thumbnail, and I sort of made a crease in the tape there, and that's my guide of where to cut it. We can always cut this down, and the trick really is we want to go into the corners, because we want to be able to, when we fold that fabric over, we want to get a good bit of the double-sided in that corner. Not too much to make it bulky, but we want to catch the fabric. So I'm going to take this big piece. All right. This is the part that Lorna was referring to when you have to subcut it. It might be easier with the narrower, but we're going to cut this into 3 strips of 3s on the long way. And I like to just go ahead and do that right away up front. I'll park my strips here. And I'll park that, because we're only going to put 1 strip on at a time. How you doing there?
I'm doing okay.
All right. So I'm going to put this first strip down. And I don't really like push it down much real strong at first, because you can kind of see it goes over the edge there. So I want it to not go off the edge of the mat board. I want it to just end at the very edge. So you can see I just trimmed it.
What's that?
Yeah, that looks good actually. I don't think you even need to trim yours. I went a little far. Oop, wrong one. Don't use the good scissors from the sticky tape. So now we can take off, remove the backing on the tape. And sometimes it can be harder on the, when it's on fabric. So if you want to give it just a little pull in the middle, you are good at this tape. You get an A in double-sided tape.
Oh, good.
All right. I got that little bit right there. I think I got enough. Okay, so now you can go ahead and fold this up and over. Pay really careful attention. I'm pulling a little bit, but not too much because it's just our first fold over. But make sure you've got it pulled nicely on your corners. Because if you start this first one well, then you don't have to go back and fix it when you do the next fold over. Okay?
Okay.
So now we're ready to grab one of those other pieces of tape and do it on the next long side. I'm doing the long sides first. We'll do the top last. And there's a reason for that. There's always a reason for it, right? Usually I kind of work through these things before I actually start designing, especially something very finish driven. I always make sure that I know exactly how it's all going to come together. And so I have good finishing instructions because the design's not going to work if the finishing doesn't work. And if you do feel like there's a different way you want to do it, I think that's great. This is just how I finish. And if you do a tutorial where you use my design, definitely make sure that you, let them know that it was my design, and let me know, because I like to kind of put that out there that, hey, this is a great way. So I removed that, removed the paper backing. Now you can see on mine, I've got a little extra fabric right there. So I'm just going to take my fabric scissors, and I literally just trimmed it. Yes, I have a little bit of a raw edge there. If you're not comfortable with that, then I would actually take a little bit of clear glue, dab your finger in a little bit of clear glue, and just glue, sorry, and just kind of dab, dab, dab on the edge and let it dry. I always like to say you're not going to be playing football with it, so you should be okay. And if you are playing football with it,
you shouldn't be doing that.
Okay, how's your corner look? Can I see? Oh, it looks marvelous. All right. So now, can I show?
Sure.
She's got a few little puckers here and here. That's okay, because now we're going to take care of those with this third, pulling on the third side, and those puckers will go away. So grab that last piece of double-sided tape and lay it in. And again, I'm going to have to give mine a little bit of a trim. Now, on this one, it's a little more important that I don't want it to go all the way to the edge, because when this folds down, I don't want any double-sided tape peeking out from the edge, this finish edge of the fabric, okay? So everything else, we went right to the edge. This one will come back from the edge a little bit. All right. How you doing?
Doing great.
Good.
And ladies, I am not a finisher.
You are now.
Well, right, I'm learning, and Cathy's a great teacher.
Oh, thanks. So go ahead and peel that last tape off. And I'm really, at this point, paying very special, close attention to the corners, just to make sure you get those pulled nice and tight, not too tight to distort everything. somebody I think on the Facebook page said, you know, how do you get the corners nice and tight? You just make sure, number one, you get the tape all the way to the corner so you get it to adhere really well. That's what the back looks like. Okay, so that's what the whole back looks like. All right, how's yours look? Looks good.
Got rid of my pucker.
Yep, pucker's all gone.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the part, okay, just to show you, this is the part that the needlework will eventually sit on. All right,
okay.
So now we're ready to do the same thing, but with our piece of cardboard. Okay, the biggest difference here, we're doing the exact same thing. I think we'll probably maybe stop camera. You don't want to necessarily see all that again. We'll go ahead and do ours. And the biggest difference here, we're doing everything the same way, except because the cardboard is a little more pliable than the mat board, we want to pull, but we don't want to pull so tight that we actually distort the cardboard. Okay, and the reason why you could do this in mat board, the reason why I did cardboard is I just wanted it a little bit thinner and a little less weight, because I already knew we were going to have, I mean, these aren't heavy, but
no, they're substantial.
You know, you've already got 2 layers of mat board plus batting, and then you've got this on the back. All right, and the cardboard's not that difficult to work with. So, all right,
you
so
just be careful that you don't bend it.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop. We're gonna get our last piece done, and then we'll start back up again. Okay, so we are back, and we have both now completed. This is we've got the mat board covered, and then we've got the backing, the very back piece, the cardboard covered as well. And as I said, this kind of makes our base for all the banners, the individual banners, before we put the stitching goes on last. So now what we need to do is these actually need to get hooked together, but wait, before we do that, we actually have to create this little channel that goes across the top, so that we can run the jute through that to create our actual banner. Okay. So if you're following along in the directions, we are now up to step number 32, and I would quickly just grab the next page and go on up to step number 33. I cut both of these for us. They're 3" by 11", and so I won't get you. And we're going to create the channel that goes, will get sandwiched between these 2 pieces. And what we have to do is, here, you're going to grab, you get that ruler. I'll let you do yours first.
Okay.
Okay. So we're actually going to create first a 5" width of this piece of fabric. So go ahead and lay your, if you want to lay the ruler up top here. And my ruler actually is taped. You can't see it, but it's a 5". I want this channel to measure 5 inches, because that's what I determined is the width of the channel that I want at the top of my banner pieces. So you're gonna lay this out wrong side down, and then you're gonna fold this over to approximately, you know, find the 5" line there. And then if you want to, go ahead and give it a press. Yeah, move the ruler a little bit. Please don't melt my ruler.
Or burn my fingers.
Yeah, that either. Okay. We're just giving it a nice little press so it stays in its place. Now this one is a little more important, and yes, do be careful. I love these wool mats. They're great. They're convenient. They're great for when you're quilting. Because they retain heat. So a lot of times if you're quilting on the top, or if you're pressing on top, then they're also heating from below. So you get great seams. So I am not affiliated with these at all. I just really like them. So now you want to move this up a little bit so you can fold over. But now this one's a little more important. You'll want to fold this one over to get to the 5" mark. So you'll have to be to the very end of your ruler here. Okay.
Got it.
All right, you want the ruler or the iron?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. And then I'll do mine really quickly. So I'm going to, just like Lorna did, I'm going to fold one side over. The first measurement doesn't really matter as much just because it's really, we want the end result to be the 5 inches. So here I'm going to line my 5 inches up. I'm going to roll this over, and you should have about a ½ inch overlap. Okay. Then this is where we use this little double-sided fusible stitch witchery, some people call it that, and we're just going to cut a little piece. Now you can lay it on top and just snip. You really just need the width. Can you see, is the iron in the way? You just need the width of this little channel we're creating. I will say, remember how I said this retains the heat?
Yes.
I actually had this kind of happen. This was so hot, then when I went to lay this on top and then trim it to fit, it had in the meantime actually adhered to the fabric. So just let it cool a little bit. just word to the wise. So I'm just going to take a little piece. I'm just going to trim it. All right, you want to do yours?
Sure.
And we're just using the width of this as the guide to how wide our strip of stitch witchery needs to be. You could also just measure it and cut a piece 3 inches.
You don't want it on your iron.
No. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold one of my flaps back, and I'm going to tuck this under. So it's actually sitting on the right side of this fabric, but when I lay this back down, it should cover it completely up. If it's sticking out a little bit, just adjust that stitch witchery. We don't want to see any of it. All right, once it's in there, give it a little press. I don't know why, for some reason, I have this weird thing I've developed over the years. When I count to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Usually not out loud. I kind of say it in my head. I don't move it around, but. All
well,
right.
I think, isn't it, if you leave it on too long, it'll melt it and it won't adhere.
Exactly. It actually kind of disintegrates. Oh, I can't go anywhere with the iron just yet. So now we have one final step. To create our channel, we're going to then fold this over. This is just kind of a no-sew way. So that fold over side should be on the inside. Raw edges on the inside. And then so we're just making a nice crease up here, taking my taking my iron, giving it another little press. You do yours. All right. And so now we have just a nice little piece that will get tucked. These raw edges will get tucked inside. There's Lorna's. These are going to get tucked inside your front piece and your back piece. Something like that. Okay. So I'm going to move this.
Thank you.
Just to get it out of our way. There's a lot of cords back there, so don't trip on them. Okay, so this is where I say some measurements are important. If you read the instructions, and now we are up to steps number 39 and 40. But what I want to talk to you a little bit about this first. So I'm going to line up my my little channel piece here with the folded side up because we want that to be on the outside. We want to cover up those raw edges. So I'm putting it between my 5-inch line so I can center this. I've got the piece that has the mat board. Okay, this is my front piece. So eventually what I'm going to do is I'll be putting a piece of double-sided tape here, and then I'm going to peel the tape back and I'm going to lay it down on top of here. What I want to do is to make sure that the channel is centered, and you can pretty much eyeball it because it's not a huge expanse. But the most important part for me is that the channel that sticks up is a 1/2 inch. So by laying this down on the mat, you can use the hash marks, the 1/2 inch hash marks. And then you'll just put it right in there. Like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and put tape across that. And again, here's my real unscientific way. I kind of measure, eyeball it across, give it a dent with my thumb. Now, what we want to make sure, I like to put it right up to the top. And again, I'm just setting it on for now. I'm not rubbing it in just yet because you can see how it sort of hangs off the edges like that. what I want to do is I want to cut that, and I want to make sure this for sure is at least a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the triangle on both sides, because while we'll be covering this up, I don't want any of that double-sided goopy stuff to be showing outside the backing. Okay, is that what you're doing? You're trimming yours?
Yep, I am.
All right. All right, so you can kind of see what I did there. Just trimmed it. Oh, not yet. Not all of them. She's getting a step ahead of me here. We're just attaching this first. But at least I know you were listening to me.
Yes, I was.
I think our music died. Oh well, that's okay. Okay, so now we go ahead. I peeled the double-sided tape backing tape paper off. You know, I got to come up with a shorter term for double-sided tape. It's a lot to say. So I'm hovering over just to kind of eyeball it being centered and that 1/2 inch sticking up. And I just gently lay it down into that. And then, so yeah, so one side is not adhered. That's okay. We're going to take care of that in the next step. What I want to take care of first is, again, you know how we trimmed the corner of the tape? I just want to trim that little corner off of the channel fabric because, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay, because if we put this over top, you don't want that little corner to peek out, all right? We want a nice, pretty back. So I'm just gonna trim, like I said before, it's all really adhered to the tape. Someone coming in later to clean all this mess up? Me. We have made a mess in here today. That's okay.
We need a Dobby.
Yeah, don't we though?
House elf.
All right, there you go. So you can see I just sort of trimmed the little corners. Now I am ready to get this prepared to put on the back there. That's what you were going ahead and doing.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm setting the mat board side, and I'm really just going to work with the cardboard side for the moment. And okay, you could glue this. You could glue this. I'm not always a fan of that. So like I said, I work a lot with the double-sided tape. So I'm basically going to create 3 rows of double-sided tape on this to adhere to that. All right. And
I'm gonna run out of tape.
Oh, I got, well, I'll share this roll with you.
Okay.
I'll play nice. You can see I kind of judged a little bit how wide. I'm doing the one at the top first. And again, I did that where I just gently put it on, and I'm gonna trim this. And this is actually a little different than I say in the written instructions. I think I have this straight up and down, and then you put a little dab of glue in the corner. See, I don't think we did that the first time.
I don't think so.
If it goes real long, then you just trim it to fit. And it gives you a nice adherence. I don't know, is that a word? I always want to say adherence. I don't think that's a word. Somebody's gonna, comment. Not a word. I make up a lot of words. Thingamabob.
Thingamajig.
See, I think those are words. Okay, now before we peel this off, I'm gonna then do at least 2 more rows going down to really cover that back and get a good adherence. We're gonna look that word up. All right, again, I'm gonna trim it to fit. And if you're sitting here going, that is way too fussy, you know what I always say, just kind of, pick a day when you just have time and, you got a little maybe movie on Lifetime that you've seen 50 million times, and you can just sort of have noise on in the background or do it with a friend over. And just take your time, enjoy the process. I don't know, there is, to me, something very satisfying. Okay, see, now I've got my third layer of tape on there. I'm one of those strange people that I find something oddly satisfying about finishing. Does that make me strange?
No, I think it's because it's the accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's I finished something, it's completely finished. I can display it.
All right. So many times when I work on a design, like I said, I was inspired by this metal banner that says J-O-Y, joy, that is hanging upstairs in my living room for the season. And I remember looking at that and thinking, I just love this piece. How could I do this in cross stitch? And that's how all of this came about. All right, so I've got the whole back covered. I could cut another little piece down there, but actually I'll probably just put a little dab of glue right there on that corner. And then start lifting up your double-sided tape. Get real good at this. And you can see I'm using the X-Acto blade to kind of lift up the corner. All right, one more to go. I really actually like doing this with you like this because I miss going to retreats. I miss
our bi-weekly get-togethers.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and people might say, why aren't you guys wearing masks? Why are you standing so close? Okay, we work together. Okay. It's, we basically, the second, I mean, we don't ever go anywhere except to our homes and here.
Right.
So
I do go to another friend's house on Friday mornings.
But she is home with children.
But she's home with grandkids.
And she's not going anywhere either. So we're all very careful. So don't worry, we are being careful.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and put this on the back and cover up that the channel. What I want you to make sure you do is when you put this in, I really would like the top of your back to match up with the top of the front. So basically the top edges line up, because then that helps create that, sorry, I was too high, that channel. And now I'm just gonna mush it down. How's yours? Yay! That's actually kind of cute. Like, I like the fabrics together. We could just even hang, no.
No.
It was a nice thought for a second. But anyway, so here you go. This is the base of your piece. And now we've got this little fabric channel up top that will run the jute through. And okay, of course, first we need to attach the needlework. Let's talk about that for a second. So you've got your, this is the size of the piece that goes on there. And again, I also really like to line up the top of your stretched piece. Imagine that's got your needlework stretched and laced on it. And I also like to line that up because that's more for an aesthetic purposes, because you've got the 1/2 inch showing here, and then you end up with basically a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch there. Of course, I put the little bit of rickrack there because the reason why I do that is because when we do stretch and lace the linen, you end up with a slightly lumpier, bumpier corner. And it raises this up. So when we adhere it, we don't want what I call the dog bone effect, where your corners stand up, but then the middle, it dips down. Kind of imagine like the side of a dog bone. You got the ends and then you go down and up, okay? We don't want that. So I added the little bit of rickrack trim there to elevate the middle part of the piece. So it's all basically the same height, okay?
How did you attach your rickrack?
Oh, okay, I can show that to you. So that's the rickrack that I'm talking about, and you can kind of see. It doesn't go the whole length of the piece, All right, because I've got, you know, you can, if you were feeling this, you can definitely feel like I've got a little extra bulk in the corners. There's no way to get around that, okay? So what I do is I have the Lady Dot trim. She wrote me a funny note. Oh, okay. She kept this tiny snip for match for other things. Okay. All right. So this is the flaky rickrack that I love this color, that she just dyed for the Snow Much Fun. And what I do is, you know, you kind of got your peaks and your valleys with the rickrack. I don't do anything to the ends of it. I just cut it. So I make sure that it's ending on a valley as opposed to a peak. And then I just hold this up and I kind of gauge. I let, you know, half of it peek out. And I figure I want to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 bumps, because I don't want to get too close to the corner where that bulk is.
Okay.
So I'm going to trim here. I'm going to trim at the valley, not the peak. It's right in the middle. And you probably want to press this a little bit. Sometimes it comes out of the package a little wrinkled. So iron it first, maybe. And then you want to make the second one the exact same size. So there's your 2 pieces. So then once you've, I can't pick that up. Once you have laced this, then you'll actually put a small piece of the double-sided tape all along this edge right here. Lay this down on the table and you'll literally just lay that exposed tape into the rickrack, just gently, and pick it up, and it's all attached.
And you're hiding your raw edges.
The raw edge, exactly. And
because if you tried to do anything else, it would just make more bulk.
It would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of see, how I've got that. All right. Let's see. Oh, okay. Then we are ready to, and then once you've got the rickrack attached, you're actually then going to cover the back with the double-sided tape, much as we did for the back piece.
Okay.
And then you'll lace that on. And then again, I match up my top pieces just so that I've got that nice, that's not required. I just like it that way. Then you've kind of got fabric showing all the way around. I did not put rickrack up here. Somebody asked me once why I didn't do that. Mostly because, you know, because this does kind of, is a little more pliable, bendable up here, and you know, and it has a little more movement to it. So I just didn't put the rickrack there. I don't know. I didn't feel like it needed it there, because you do end up filling this with the jute. So, so let's take our 2 pieces, and then I take jute. Okay, Bill and I, Mr. HOD and I have a funny thing about jute. I must own like 15 spools of these, and we can never find it. So I
understand that completely.
So then I buy a new one, and then I find the old one.
You could also use like baker's twine.
You could, yes, absolutely. Or ribbon, or lots of different things. You can make your own cording, that kind of thing. I just like the look of the jute. I actually almost didn't use jute on this one. I almost changed my mind. So I just cut off, I don't know, a couple yards. You can always, jute's cheap. That's why I own 15 spools of them. I am lucky enough to have this kind of a tool. This is actually from my grandmother's knitting and crochet basket. It's a very long crochet hook. And so I fit it through here and grab the jute and pull it on through. If you don't have your grandma's old crochet hook, you could tie a little knot in this and put like a safety pin through it, and then feed the safety pin through, maybe tape the end. And if you tape it with enough tape, you can feed that, grab it, and kind of scoot it on through. Lots of different things you could do to get that jute through. So I pull the jute. I tend to work from right to left as I'm putting them all together. So I'll pull my jute through, and then I like to make just a little overhand. I leave about, I don't know, what is that, about 12, 15 inches over here. And then I like to make a little overhand knot here on either side of the channel. Not so much, like it can definitely hop over the knot, but more just to kind of help keep it in place. All right, the jute does kind of grab inside there.
Okay.
Now, if you did use a ribbon or like the baker's twine, like we were talking, it probably would slide around a little bit more. So you might want to make a bigger knot. And I just do this for spacing. So I make a little knot here. And then I'm going to make another knot here. And then, all right, sorry. I'm all thumbs today, I think. And then I'm going to make another knot about halfway, about half an inch from it, excuse me. And in between there is kind of my marker as to where I'm going to tie all the little pretty ribbons.
Okay.
All right. So then I'm ready to feed this through the next one. And again, of course, yours will already have the stitching on it. Maybe we can do that in another video. I just kind of felt like, you know, once you sort of know how to put the foundation of it all together, really doing now I do lace the needlework. You could very carefully, if you wanted to, do the double-sided acid-free tape too. I did have somebody ask me that. I think you could. I do prefer to lace mine because I like it nice and tight. So then scoot that over to where the knot is, and you'll put another couple knots there, add your third one, and then over here, I just do a little, create a loop, so then I can hang that on my, the hooks on my shelf. And you're ready to go.
There you go.
And isn't that just fun and pretty? Okay.
And it was not hard to do.
I'm actually gonna try and, instead of stopping and moving, okay, can we try and maybe move the camera up? There we go. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I did put this out there. Should we talk about, all right, if I should, sorry. Like I said, very low tech here. All right, let's look at some of the questions that we had. If I can find them. Okay, so a couple questions, not too many. So I think, okay, this one was kind of funny. Somebody said, Renee said, yes, because I think I said, if you have any general specific questions about the banner finish or other non-specific questions. So she said, she took me up on the non-specific question.
Okay.
And she said, yes, could you manufacture a little extra time in a day so that I can sit down and work on it? My response was, if I could produce hands-on time in a bottle, y'all would know about it.
I think we could all use that.
And I'd be a very wealthy woman.
Yes, you would be.
And Christy said, I hope you have fun time doing it. Did you have fun time doing it?
Yes, I did.
Good. I did too. Okay. Then Lily said, I'm always curious of the back of the finished piece. Would you mind showing it, please? And how did you finish the back? Thank you. I think if she's talking about if she's talking about this piece specifically, I think we covered that.
Yes.
So you've seen the back. So yay, thank you. How do you get your corners so neat and tidy? And I asked Harmony if she meant pillows or flat finish, and she said flat finish. Okay, this is not your typical flat finish, but I would say number one, practice. Sorry, that's a generic answer.
I think that with a flat, like if you're flat finishing an ornament, you just might have to fuss with the corners a little bit. Maybe if it's not quite as tight as you'd like it, maybe take a little stitch in that corner and just take a couple stitches and tighten it up, because my corners on this certainly are not perfect, and I would probably take a little light colored thread, like quilting thread, and just cinch it in a little bit.
I think your corners are really good.
Well, thank you.
I don't know what she's talking about. Okay, one thing I will suggest on flat finishing ornaments, if you would go to, and I'm not set up to kind of demonstrate this here, but maybe I will another video, but if you go on my website, handsondesign.biz, under the tutorial section, I show a couple flat finishing some of the earlier videos, or not videos, excuse me, they're static tutorials, but when you fold it over, when I lace, okay, number one, how do you get a good corner?
Lace.
You lace. And so what I do is, as I'm lacing and I pull really tight, it tends to pull the fabric in. So I lace in one direction and then I turn it, and then I actually kind of pull the sides in a little bit. They generally pull in anyway because I've laced so tightly. And then when you turn it over, I give a couple little tacking stitches in the very corner before I start lacing back and forth in the opposite direction. You can see better pictures of those in my one tutorial. I think it's the one where you'll see the picture of the Joyeux Noël ornaments. I have several flat finishing ornament tutorials, some shaped, some square. Read through those. I hate to always refer people back to those, but they're just basic. They're just basic tutorials. And that's really, it's just all basics, you know. It's just how you string all those basics together gets you something like this. So, okay. Harmony, I hope that helped. Gail says, does Mr. HOD get as excited about a new release as we do seeing it for the first time? Probably not. He has lived with it as much as I do, or as I have, and you have, you know. He has told me before, he really likes when he comes home at the end of the day and he knows it's been a design day, and he says, I can always tell when you're really excited about something, like a new design that you're working on, because I come and you're probably still on the computer working away in the graphics program and you've got a smile on your face. And I think that makes him happy. But, you know, I think we've lived with them by the time from the actual inception to the stitching we've lived with it for so long that, you know, I'm sorry to say my mind is already on the next project.
Which I know it is. Which
is why I make so many mistakes in the charts. So, sorry, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Kelly says, I'd like to know average stitching time, please, and if they are suitable for beginners. I assume you mean this project. Average stitching time. Oh gosh, I couldn't even begin to.
Yeah, that's just going to depend on how fast you stitch. I'm a slow stitcher, so this would take me, if I could sit down every evening and stitch, it would probably take me a week, 5 days on each triangle.
Yeah. They're not, I mean, they're not big and beginner.
And they're not super complicated.
No. And I think fine for a beginner. I don't think any of my pieces is very complicated. There is a few specialty stitches.
You don't do a lot of half stitches or 3/4 stitch or quarter stitch.
No. And you can do these on Aida. You don't have to do them on linen. The only thing I probably would maybe suggest not doing is an even weave, only because you do cut close to the corners.
Yeah.
And even weave does tend to unravel a little bit more. You know, I just realized you can see our light here. I'll move that. See, I told you we weren't real technical here.
I started my sister on Cathy's coffee series, and I got her the floss, and I got her a real nice linen Aida, 14 count linen Aida.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And so I just, you know, made up a whole little kit for her, got her scissors. So she's never stitched. And she did great.
She did. She did.
She did really well on that.
Okay. All right. Vicky says, oh shoot, Vicky, you sent me a message and I never got back to you. I'm bad. Sorry. I completed the banner series and printed your tutorial, the book series. Okay. Okay. She was worried about cutting her corners, but she did the fabric pieces for the first time, and in the practice helped her a lot. So I think what she's trying to say is she did the fabric pieces before she did cut her linen and did her linen pieces, and then that helped, which is why I wrote the instructions this way. Remember I said there's always a method to my madness. And so that way you have a lot of practice. Because don't you feel a little more confident now that you
yeah, I just, from our first run through to this one, it helped a whole lot.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt more efficient.
Actually, I was the one that made the mistake on the second run through. I forgot one of the steps. I just blew right through it. Okay. Okay, so Becca says, how do you connect each banner? Well, I think we answered that one, so yay. Do you know which grunge you used? Okay, on the Snow Much Fun, let's see, it's Basic Gray Grunge number 30464, and I think I might have printed that on the information page. I did also use a Basic Gray Grunge Dot. That's what that is, the Grunge Dot. I used the gray version on the, I love grunge. I don't know, isn't that weird? That sounds funny. But I used that on the Ghosties and Gourds as well. Okay. Melissa says, I followed the written directions and they were perfect. I really like Melissa. She didn't have any problems following the directions. So thank you so much for providing this. So thanks, Melissa. I met Melissa at a Zoom retreat, one of the retreats I was doing that had to go Zoom this year. Anyway, okay, Carrie says, honestly, the only thing I'd like to know is how you'd space them on the fabric. That's not really a finishing question. Well, we'll answer it all the same. She's doing hers on a fat quarter split in half lengthwise. And I asked her specifically, I said, so your linen measures 9 by 27. And she confirmed, yes, that's how her shop is doing it. That is actually the cut that I had suggested to shops. So they have zero waste on the linen when they get their yardage in, and they're doing clubs and things like that. So each stitched piece, what I would do is I would actually subcut your 9 by 27 into 3 9 by 9 pieces. And then just center this on each of the pieces, and that way you have zero waste as well. I have seen where, or if you don't want to cut them into 9 by 9, just have one long piece, but just kind of maybe use like a marking pencil or something like that and mark on your linen so you know you're within the middle of that 9-inch block. But you really can just stitch them side by side. Now I have seen where somebody was really tight on fabric. I think she was using fabric she had in her stash, and she actually stitched one like this, and then she stitched one like that, kind of crisscrossed them, and that worked too. Because really, like if you had like maybe 2 inches between them, if you did them that way, you'd probably be okay doing that. So hopefully that, answers your question there. And if not, please let me know. Let's see if anybody else asked any questions. I think we're good. So that's all the questions. So thanks for doing your first Floss
Well, thanks
tube.
for having me.
Ooh, you survived.
I did.
Oh, we haven't turned the camera off yet. But well, thank you so much. And thank you so much. And if you've got any other questions, I have a couple more ideas for doing some little finishing tutorials like this. This is a little different, so thanks for kind of playing along. I thought it was kind of fun to do it, kind of almost like a class setting kind of thing. So, because a lot of times as I'm talking with somebody about it, I remember bits and pieces that, I might not if I was just standing in front of you. So it helped me.
It was good.
And like I said, I miss it. So anyway, well, you all have a good evening. We'll get this posted probably tomorrow, Friday. And I don't know what the next banner is. We haven't, that was something I said about this series. I'm calling it the occasional series, because I would eventually like to have a banner for every season. Like I have a spot upstairs on my mantle that I want a banner up all the time. So sometimes they're seasonal, sometimes they're a specific holiday, and I might do one that's like the everyday. Just something
that would be fun,
that you could have hanging all the time. So when I feel inspired, I will design a new one. I don't have specific plans just yet, because mostly I'm working on other projects, but if y'all have an idea, you can let me know. Anyway, Well, we should probably go. And so thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the stitch and enjoy the finish. And thank you.
Thank you. Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.